Welcome here to the No One Gets Over podcast presented by RTB. It's your boy P. Fitz's Robin. So I'm here, you're here, let's do this. So today we're going to go over NXT and 205 Live. I want to just point out, if you guys aren't watching these shows, you're really missing some of the best things in wrestling that are happening that's right on the network. We're not sponsored by anybody. We don't do anything for anybody. We don't give out free plugs. But the network is where I watch a lot of my wrestling. WWE has a great collection on there, and it's fairly cheap per month. But really, the hour of NXT and the hour of 205 Live is some of the better wrestling and some of the better storylines. It's stuff that a lot of TV writers aren't dealing with, so it's actually entertaining for wrestling fans because it's made by wrestlers. Shocking. But so, we started off with NXT, and another good point about NXT that a lot of people may not realize, I got this from a buddy of mine. He pointed out to me, and then I relayed it on to Colt Davidson here on the pod many times. The best thing about NXT is that they have less cameras. 205 Live has less cameras than what's on TV. These TV companies and broadcasting want the best angles possible, and any major sports has this. There's more cameras than ever before. Try to give you a look at what it would be like to be exactly on the field, or in this case, exactly in the ring. But what happens is we end up seeing a lot of mistakes happen a lot easier, and wrestlers have a hard time adapting to 6 to 8 cameras like that WWE currently has, which ends up being a downfall and gives you kind of a washed out product, because you're seeing all the mistakes and you may be like, oh, that guy sucks. But with 4 cameras, you may not have noticed those little mistakes or those punches that may not have looked as clean because of a camera right next to the guy, whereas on NXT those punches will look the cleanest. There's a little caveat about everything. I really like the 4 cameras. They used to do it all the time, and that's when wrestling was great. NXT is great. And kind of a big help, and for these younger talents that are maybe not mainstream ready, it's unfortunately a wake-up call when they do go to the mainstream, and now they have to play off to the cameras, and we have different cuts, different production angles that really just kind of water down the product. Nothing worse than missing a big spot because you couldn't remember which camera needed to be there on TV for the broadcast. But NXT started. We had the Forgotten Sons, Riker versus Humberto Carrillo. Carrillo's great. He's looking really good. He's in shape. I mean, he's got a great look. He's great in the ring. I like everything about the guy. He could benefit from a little bit of personality coaching, but keep him as his face, and I like that he's working with the Forgotten Sons. If you guys don't really understand the Forgotten Sons gimmick yet, they're a motorcycle club. That's what they're going for. Sons of Anarchy and Forgotten Sons. It's ironic. It's not ironic, actually, that they actually have the name Sons in it. And that's what the playoff is. They have 3 rockers, which in motorcycle culture usually represents a 1%, which is usually a motorcycle outlaw. I like the way that they're doing everything. Riker's a big dude. The only thing I would change about that is maybe expand the Forgotten Sons to a little bit bigger. If you had maybe 5 members and have the 3 patch members and then 2 prospects, kind of divulge more into motorcycle culture and have the hierarchy really play into more effective. Riker's going to be their leader and their prez. Then have them, have some prospects. Have the prospects do their bidding and do all the hard stuff. Not the club, reap the rewards. If they get those tag team titles, have the prospects win the tag team titles for them. That'd be great. And then they never touch those titles again. You do that, not only do you make those prospects baby faces, because the crowd's gonna want them to have those titles on them. You make the 3 patch members heels, and they're going to be some of the biggest heels. And that's easy writing. And you get a year's worth of writing out of that, where the guys that actually won the title are still trying to become patch members. Maybe they're hang-arounds or they're prospects. And they got to do all this stuff to become it. And then at the end, the blow-off is that they just they turn on the Forgotten Sons. They leave the club. And you have a year of writing that you could do with that. But we'll go back to the match. Riker versus Carrillo. It ends when Riker ends up throwing Carrillo over the barrier, attacks him into the crowd. Oni and Larkin end up protecting Carrillo. Oni and Larkin are great. Carrillo, I mean, again, he looked phenomenal. Only little thing I didn't like was after the match got called, Oni and Larkin picked up some chairs, and they were going to protect Carrillo, which is fine. But they're swinging against the barrier, and the Forgotten Sons are kind of testing them and teasing them a little bit over on the other side. You got those chairs, start swinging them. If WWE is not going to let you do chair shots anymore, then why tease it? Because if not, it's kind of just odd, especially watching it where you're swinging a chair at a barrier and making noise, but the guys, obviously, you're not hitting them, so they're just standing there. You're not going to scare them off. I mean, if you were going to hit them, you were going to hit them. But it was really good. We end up getting next an Adam Cole segment. Backstage, he's doing a photo shoot, and he gets asked about Roderick Strong versus Johnny Gargano. He says Roderick's going to do the same thing that he would do to Johnny and just beat the living hell out of him. He's interrupted by Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle's asking him why he's so jealous of Roddy, and Adam says that he's got nothing to do with this. He's got better things to do. And the photo shoot continues, only to end for Riddle to kind of tease a match versus Adam Cole. If this ends up becoming a feud, and maybe they're taking direction as far as let's throw Riddle into that mix for that NXT title, and they have a triple threat or even fatal four-way between Strong, Cole, Gargano, and Riddle, that'd be great. But he needs to have a builder feud with Cole, I think, before, and that could really skyrocket his career to the next level. I think Adam Cole could bring out the best in Matt Riddle. I mean, Matt Riddle he's a real deal, like Lesnar. He's a real fighter. He's a scary guy. He plays this cool guy on camera, and for all we know, and I think it's pretty accurate, that's how he is in real life. He seems like a pretty laid-back guy. But it would do his character a lot if he could channel some anger, maybe, but maybe not anger, just some more enthusiasm in the ring where he kind of gets built up and pent up, almost like how Brock used to back in the day when he, comes out. He's intimidating, and as soon as he goes into that ring, it's lights out. And Riddle doesn't need to go undefeated. He doesn't need to, per se, beat Adam Cole. He's already lost the match now, so his record, wins and losses don't really matter that much, but his undefeated streak is over. But if he could do something where he has a turn in the ring where he becomes a little more aggressive, and that's how he's finishing matches, I think he could still be a great face, but you're going to add a little third dimension to that two-dimensional character that he has. We end up getting next Vanessa and Aaliyah versus Candice LeRae and Kacy Catanzaro. These girls are great. NXT really does a good job. So tape shows do a good job of hiding things that may not happen and may be blundered in a live show. But this match really didn't have anything that I saw. All the women in this match look great. The only thing is, I'm not too hot on Kacy Catanzaro. I think she's a good performer. I think she's going to be great. I mean, she's still green, and you can kind of see it in the ring. But I don't like that they're playing off this American Ninja Warrior so much. Commentary, they refer to her as a speed demon and that she can climb. Well, if you're going to come on the ring and climb the ring post, and then you're not going to really be a spot monkey, then why are you climbing the ring post? She doesn't need to be a spot monkey, but if that's your gimmick, that's your gimmick. That's what you're going to do. Jeff Hardy was known for jumping off stuff. So what did he do? He jumped off stuff. He still does. But another thing is Kacy could really use a new wardrobe. The plain pink bottoms and pink sports bra top. I get it. It worked for American Ninja Warrior, but, give her something with some logos on. Get her own design. Just market her because the crowd loves her. They love seeing her. So why not kind of make some money off it and make her more famous by it? Make her recognizable. I want to see something out of that. It looked good. Candice LeRae gets the win. She's phenomenal. She looks good, and I think Casey could really get something out of that. We end up getting a backstage segment between Io Shirai. She's interviewed about Shayna Baszler. Baszler ends up attacking her. Good little thing. I like Io Shirai. The only thing is, a lot of these Japanese stars that come over, there is a language barrier. English is a hard language to learn, especially for these people where I don't think English is taught all that much in Japan as far as a required language to learn. Most European countries, they are taught English, or at least very rudimentary English, to get by. But she could really benefit from a manager role or a mouthpiece. I really like that Paige is now managing Kairi and Asuka. I think that's the best fit. I think that's the best thing for Paige. Keep her in the ring somewhat. She can't wrestle. People still like seeing her. They like hearing her. And these are two girls that really, there's nothing against them, but they're difficult to understand when they do speak English sometimes. And Io, you could tell she's going to have a problem trying to get over on the mic for a lot of American fans. But then we go to William Regal, and he teases Kushida versus Cassius Ohno. I'm all for this. I love Cassius Ohno. Kushida's great. I love Steve or William Regal in that kind of manager role. I think it fits him very well. He's very a collected man, and he's very professional. A hell of a wrestler. One of the best out of the UK. Really brought that style to America and made it famous. With this said, there is rumors that WWE offered a contract to Joey Ryan. What this contract was, or is supposedly that he's going to become a NXT talent for 1 to 2 years to train wrestlers in the ring and get them over, kind of how Cassius Ohno does. And then eventually work his way to be a performance center trainer, almost like Matt Bloom, in the back end. Now, I think Joey Ryan may not be interested in this. He may be. I mean, it seems like a pretty secure gig. But I think he's got a lot of gas left in his tank. I saw him at All In. It was great. I love watching that guy. His gimmick is definitely not going to work in WWE on main roster. It's just a different time. If this was 10, 15 years ago, it would probably get over. But I don't think Vince wants that. It might work in NXT, but I don't know if they're going to I don't know if they're going to walk that line as much. Vince ultimately does have the final say over almost everything. But I'd be curious to know. I mean, is Cassius only going to get a push? Is he going to just go strictly backstage, or is he going to leave the company? Because here's a guy that really never made it on main, but he's a phenomenal performer. Granted, he's a little out of shape now. He's not as fit as he once was, but he still puts on good matches. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you guys want to know. Really, I think if you guys want to reach out or anything, leave comments on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment on our website, send me a message anywhere. I read them every time you guys send them. I have a list of some of the ones from last week that I'm going to go over at the end of this video. But just let me know. This is No One Gets Over. If you don't like what we're doing, let us know. If you like what we're doing, let us know. If you want to hear something else, you want to see something else, let us know. But we're going to try to make this more than other podcasts maybe, where you guys really are interacting with us. Not, whatever you guys want to see is what we're going to try to do. We want this to be the No One Gets Over universe, and if you haven't checked out our website yet, check it out. We're going to write up reviews for everything, all the major shows. I'm eventually going to try to get into Ring of Honor and New Japan and AEW. I will do updates. Those are a little bit harder as I don't have those channels. I don't have a Japanese channel to watch New Japan, so a lot of my stuff is a little bit after the fact, but I will try to cover almost everything I can for you. Back to NXT, we get Street Profits versus the War Raiders, formerly known as the Viking Experience, formerly known as now the Viking Raiders on main, but still War Raiders on NXT. This is a great match. The Street Profits came out and they were swinging. They really came out and attacked them before the match came, got them in, almost stole a victory for the NXT tag titles. Ultimately, War Raiders get the win. Some things, I mean, I think everybody hates the name that they're changing the name from War Raiders to Viking Raiders, Viking Experience, which now their finish is called Viking Experience. But I don't know what they're doing with this. I think this is really weird. I brought it up to some other fans, and they asked me about this. I don't know why you would have two simultaneous shows running with two different names, and the fact that they changed their individual names on the main roster is just confusing to any casual fan that may go back and be like, hey, I just happened to watch NXT this week, and there's those guys that debuted 2 weeks ago, the Viking Experience, but why are they calling them War Raiders? Why do they have different names? If you want to stay in kayfabe, why are you having two different simultaneous names? That comes down to writing. I mean, that has nothing to do with the War Raiders. Those guys are just doing what they need to do, which is good for them. Street Profits, they're being called the Sultans of Swag. Why are they coming out with the same outfits every week? I think really if they were to go back to a retro style apparel, how they came on like Harlem Heat, if they did something like that where they're having apparel based off of 80s and 90s wrestlers, and they're having modern day, like as simple as the Jordans that they're wearing, match up and come out and be those Sultans of Swag, I think they're going to be over even more, because they're over in the ring, but they could sell a lot more merchandise if they do something like that, and it gives them a different look. They don't just look like two guys that wrestle. Now they look like a brand. They need to sell the Street Profit brand, and I would love to see Street Profits versus the Usos later in the road, because I think that they could really have a good feud where you have this battle of the streets. That if the Usos are going to have the penitentiary, let these guys have the streets. Welcome to our street. You end up going to the main event, Gargano versus Strong. This is a takeover level match. I mean, you have two of the best chain wrestlers in wrestling in the last 10 years, and they really did tear the house down. That Full Sail crowd gets lucky every time there's a match, because they really do put on some great matches down in there. Again, if you're not watching NXT or 205 Live, I suggest highly watching it. And if you don't have the network, look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of clips for their matches. This match was phenomenal. Again, it could have been a takeover level match. The match ends up where the Undisputed Era comes out and breaks up the submission by Gargano on Strong, and Riddle ends up protecting Gargano by tossing some of the Undisputed Era out, Fish and O'Reilly, and then it ends up trying to toss Adam Cole aside. Cole ends up pushing him to the ground. Roderick goes to tap him on the shoulder. He ends up Pele kicking Roderick by accident, thinking it was Gargano. What's going to happen? I mean, that's kind of a tough thing. Gargano ends up getting the pin after that kick on Strong. You see that at the end, in the end of the show, they're all in the ring. The Undisputed Era is all in the ring, and Strong's kind of just telling Cole, you know, get away. We'll talk about it later. If they really are a family like they say they are, families fight. I get this. I hope they don't break up Undisputed Era. I really hope that they play this off where there is this tension, but the tension never breaks it. Because these are four guys that I really like seeing together. If they're going to stay together, they need to stay together. I think Adam Cole is probably protected a lot by Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I know Shawn Michaels is very big on him and Gargano. So maybe they're going to end up pushing our Strong to main roster, and this may be the way to do it. If there is going to be someone that breaks away, I would rather be Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong has proven that he could be fine as a singles competitor. He doesn't need to be in the faction, but he adds a little bit of dynamic to that, and he's very entertaining to watch. He's a very, very good wrestler, and he can talk. And he's got a good look. I mean, he looks like a wrestler. So does Adam Cole, but he could make it to the main roster, and I think he would be fine. I don't think that even any change that they would do to his character, I think he can strive in that, because he's that kind of guy. Any opportunity that's given to him, he really does kill it. But that pretty much ends NXT. You know, it was a great show. Next we have 205 Live. Starts off with Gulak announcing that Daivari versus Oney Larkin. The winner will face Tony Nese. So now Oney Larkin is featured on 2 shows back to back. He's phenomenal in the ring. Oney Larkin, though, could really use a wardrobe update. He kind of looks like the poor man Cesaro. I mean, they look almost identical, especially with the 5 o'clock shadow, the shaved head, crooked teeth, trunks, and matching boots. But he's great in the ring. Gulak ends up versus Carrillo. Again, another guy that has 2 back-to-back shows. Carrillo, and Humberto Carrillo, he is the real deal. I wanted to save some things I was going to say about him for this from the NXT review, but he has everything he needs in the ring. He has the look. If they're going to make him be the face to Andrade, so because him and Andrade are very, very similar. They can both work on the mat, which Carrillo versus Gulak showed, and they can both do lucha style wrestling. So now you have a guy where if they keep playing off that he's going to come from behind, then this is really good, because he can really build this and get the crowd behind him, because people like the way he wrestles, and I think he's entertaining to watch. And if he doesn't need to talk that much, I don't know what he did before WWE, but his lucha style will get over, because he's not as small as like Rey Mysterio or some of the like the Lucha House Party, and he doesn't need those lucha gimmicks. He could come out like Andrade, but be the opposite and be the other spectrum. And I think a feud between him and Andrade on Main would be amazing. I think that would show a lot of light to these lucha style wrestlers. Drew Gulak, guy is phenomenal. I love the American gimmick that he's got. I love that he's pulling tricks out of Kurt Angle's book. He could be not the next Angle, but not even a replacement, but a similar style that Angle had, and I think it works very well. There's not a lot of submission wrestlers left. A lot of wrestlers today have a more style, high-flying style, lucha style, even though it may not be lucha, but a more spot style. And Gulak really does bring it back to the mat. The match ends when Carrillo gets the Aztec press. This is a great move. I think that it really, as long as it's safe, it looks to be safe, but as long as Vince doesn't deem it as unsafe, this is one of those finishers that you're like, wow, that looks like it just hurt. And it's real. I mean, there's some that look like crap and some that look really good, and that's one that it really looks like that he's beating the hell out of the other guy. We go backstage and we have a Mike Bennett or Mike Kanellis segment where Drake Maverick's asking why Maria has to always interfere, and Brian Kendrick shows up. I love Spanky Brian Kendrick. He's been one of my favorites since I saw him back in the day with Paul London. They had their tag run. And Bennett, this guy should have been on Main. I know he messed his first showing up. He had his problems, his demons, but he seems to have corrected them, and he looks like $1 million now. They need to do more with him. I think he would have been better off going to NXT and building himself, his brand, than 205 Live. More people watch NXT than 205 Live. But a big thing for a lot of these guys on 205 Live, just combine NXT with 205 Live. There's no need to be a separate cruiserweight division like that. Bring the title to Main. You're going to have 3 hours on Fox now. You have more than enough time with 6 hours of weekly television. You can have them be on Main and have some of these guys go to NXT, build themselves up, and then compete on the main roster. Like Humberto Carrillo, he's 198 pounds. He does not look like 198 pounds. He looks like he's about 220. And he probably could get up past that 205. So why are you limiting them to that? And same thing with Bennett. Bennett maybe 205 or 204.9. I mean, the guy's big. He can be 220 fine. He can bulk up the extra 15 pounds if he needs to. He doesn't need to cut weight to meet this 205 deadline that he's on. And this distraction ends up from Kendrick that allows Tozawa to attack. This feud's great for Bennett. Tozawa is a competitor. You know, he's realistic. I love strong style wrestling. And Bennett not being a spot guy, but being a general all-over wrestler, this is a good feud for him. We end up getting the main event, Daivari versus Larkin. This is a great match. Again, Daivari ends up getting the win. He's going to get his title shot against Tony Nese. I don't like Daivari's look. He kind of looks like the poor man's Ambrose. Maybe get rid of the fact that, you know, he has a beater on with white wrist tape, elbow pad, and black jeans, because he looks like Ambrose. I mean, but he could be the next Ambrose. Ambrose is out of the company now, so he might be able to fill that spot to a degree. But I'm really looking forward to this main event match between Nese and Daivari. Daivari deserves it. He's a great competitor. But that's how 205 Live ends. I think it ended with just 2 matches. You know, you have an hour show. Make NXT 2 hours and have these guys just wrestle on there. You got Full Sail. You got all this stuff. I get that 205 Live is supposed to be for a more established wrestler, but look what Adam Cole's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, look what these guys, Kevin Owens, did in NXT. That's where these guys are going to get big. And Buddy Murphy getting called up and Cedric Alexander getting called up is great. They're paving the way so that guys from 205 Live can leave and go to main. And, you know, Ali was the first one to do it, Mustafa Ali. I hate that they changed his name, but I think it would be better for their career and in the long run for WWE to have these guys on NXT. And have a NXT Cruiserweight title if that's what you want to do. There are some smaller guys, but you don't need to it's wrestling. You don't need to subjugate that they're smaller. Because as been shown by Rey Mysterio, they can win World Heavyweight titles. I mean, who wouldn't want to see? Seth Rollins is a taller guy, but let's not forget, Mustafa Ali was in that title shot before Kofi. Kofi's a smaller guy. Seth is a smaller guy. Mustafa Ali's a smaller guy. When you see them next to guys like Batista or Strowman or Lesnar, they look considerably smaller because they are. So why are you going to downplay the fact that their ability can't overcome that? Finn Balor weighs about the same as Humberto Carrillo, and yet he was a Universal Champion. I don't know, that's my thoughts. I don't really like 205 Live as far as that they're subjugated, but the wrestling on there is top-notch. Same thing with NXT, the wrestling is top-notch. The product is top-notch. 205 Live should go back to being a taped show, not before SmackDowns or after, whatever they're going to do for the dark matches. But I got some stuff here, some emails that were sent in from you guys. So I got an email about the CM Punk, how come I didn't cover it. I'm a big CM Punk fan. I think the reason why, one of the reasons why I didn't want to cover it, but I am now, one, you guys asked, but I didn't initially recognize the fact that it was him. Not because I didn't know, but because it's CM Punk, and things like this and broadcasts like this that analyze him and look into this is what he doesn't want. He said in an interview, you know, years ago that if he was going to return to the ring, it was going to be in a mask, run into a match, and that was going to be in. The match that he was running into was the last match inside this arena that was being torn down, where he wrestled some of his first matches. I believe he went to school right down the street from there. But he looked good. People are going to criticize his GTS. The guy hasn't been in the wrestling ring in 4 years, I think, now. And, you know, it is what it is. I would love to see him back. I think that if we had either a CM Punk WWE run again, which I don't think is likely, I want to see him get his main event spot at WrestleMania. He deserves it. I hate what happened to him. But I think if he were to sign with AEW or even have a match with AEW, you could have one of the best triple threats in the last 30 years. You could have Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho versus CM Punk. And you have the bout for the best in the world, the real bout for the best in the world between 3 of the guys that are the best in the world. And that would do wonders for AEW, especially if they did it before the TV deal, because now people are tuning in to see if CM Punk is going to come back for the TV deal. And if he does, that's great. If he doesn't, he still would be so over, and the people would want to tune in every week. And it's kind of a no-brainer for AEW to go after him. I know Tony Khan originally reached out to him when he wanted to start a new wrestling promotion, and he wanted to be part of it. CM Punk was right in the middle of his UFC training and run. But now that I think that he's had 2 fights, he sees that he may not be that top-level competitor that he thought he was, which is no knock on CM Punk. This is a guy that went from professional wrestling, started training, and within 3 years had 2 fights on UFC. This guy, he's working his ass off. People may not like him in the fighting world and say, well, he can't fight, he's unathletic, blah, blah, blah. Okay, these guys that are fighting have had years and years on him. They've been training since they were teens. Not CM Punk, he started when in his 30s. So the feat of it in itself, and I think that was a moral feat that he wanted to do, and a moral victory for himself to say that he could do it and he could be something legitimate. And, I think he is legitimate. I don't know if he's going to ever beat a Lesnar or a Riddle in the ring. I mean, there are a lot of weight classes higher than him. But in the wrestling world, he now has gone out and can come back, and he's showing that people still want to see him. The next thing is Luke Harper asked for his release. Well, it was not granted. And they actually tacked on 6 more months. Kind of sucks. I think Luke Harper or Brody Lee could be great in New Japan or great for AEW. There's no one else like him. The guy's like 6'7", but he doesn't move like a big man. He can move like a small competitor. He can really hold his own in the ring. And we've only scratched the surface on Luke Harper. We've never seen him be himself in the ring. We've never seen him have a gimmick where he is able to be a little more creative than outside of the Wyatt Minion or the Bludgeon Brother. I think it's kind of pity that WWE is going to tack on him the 6 months after he had his surgery, but I don't know what happens backstage. I don't read the dirt sheets. I don't have any other insider info like some other people or claim to have, but like some other people do. I see things on the outside and I just review it, but it is kind of pity. It's kind of a bad look, especially after the Undertaker being pulled from StarCast, which apparently was Vince's reason. I don't know. StarCast has nothing to do with AEW. Conrad Thompson has nothing to do with AEW. He just is a spokesman for his podcast, and he happens to like those guys. But he was on the network with Bruce Pritchard, and Bruce Pritchard's on one of his shows. So I don't know why Vince wouldn't allow that. But hopefully Luke doesn't get tossed aside. Hopefully he doesn't get shunned off TV, which I think will happen. I think he's going to end up like the Club, where it's kind of known, well, now it is known that he wants to leave, but I think it's known that the Club is probably going to leave WWE. And they're kind of diluting their brand, trying to get people to forget about him. Hopefully it doesn't happen to Harper. I like seeing him compete. He seems like a nice enough guy outside the ring, and he could really do wonders for a New Japan or AEW because there is no one else like him. He's not a big enough name where he may sway the ticker, but I think after 6 months in either promotion, people are going to really go back and look at it, and other fans of those promotions that may not watch WWE. There's a lot of New Japan people and fans, or Japanese fans, that don't watch WWE, and the reason why is because New Japan and All Japan Wrestling and the other Japanese promotions are their thing. I mean, Japanese style wrestling is unlike anything else. And I really think Luke Harper could do well there, and I think he could adapt and learn something there. But if the doors are open to AEW, I think that would be his first bet. Stay in America, have a bigger platform as far as American fans. But either or, I would love to see him. Hopefully his contract ends up not being that way, but it seems like now that there's an added 6 months, which would free him up after probably next WrestleMania. But if you guys have any questions, comment on the YouTube. Check out our website at NOONEGETSOVER.com. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment on the website. Let me know what you guys want to see. Any questions you have, I will try my hardest to answer everything in a timely fashion. And we're working hard to get some shirts made up. We have the shirt that Colt featured in our first video. And I also have some more designs that I'm going to try to get for you guys and eventually open up a store. So, as always, remember, no one gets over, and have a nice day.